I just want to go through some of the sounds. I'll probably do some more videos in the future. I'm trying to get a different video camera that's actually got an audio input line so that I can take sound out of a mixer and plug it directly into the camera rather than just hearing the, mic in the camera that's picking up the room noise, because then you're hearing the actual sounds of the pads too, and it's kind of not a good indication of, the pure sounds themselves. But I just thought I'd play through some of the sounds just to give you an idea. This is the default kit, the Fusion, and it gives you like a graphical representation of what the, what it looks like. Whether it's kind of like a reggae kit or a little jazz kit. The actual graphic changes, and you can assign that too for your own custom pads. Like there's a little punk guy there. So the graphic changes just to give you a rough idea of what kind of kit you're into. They don't seem to be grouped very well. They're just kind of random, through, rocks and Latin and New Age and electronic. It'd be nice if they were grouped a little bit. Here's 20 rock patterns, here's, 20 jazz kits, here's 20 electronic kits, but that's not a big deal. It's got 20 preset slots, 200 slots. 100 of them are full from the factory with 100 kits. And then there's 100 user-definable kits. So that probably after you get a taste for what sort of sounds you like and what sort of songs you're playing, you'll want to go through and create your own user kits. And that is pretty easy. I've just had it for a day now, but I've been able to go through and set up my own kit, pick my favorite snare, my favorite toms, cymbals, things like that. Pretty fun and easy to set those up. But yeah, again, there's the 100 in there to get you started with. Oh, and some are pretty cool. This clav jam. It's got a little, like a clavinova sound triggered on the pads, on the bass, and on the snare. So you kind of get cool little grooves with that. That's kind of neat. There's a few other like that have like, heavy metal guitars playing along with the bass drum or with the toms. Let me see if I can find one of those. So this has kind of a different little, like a metal guitar riff tied to the bass pedal. So it just kind of goes through this little riff. And it's got a little guitar chunk on the lowest tom also. Then the other toms are just normal. Snare is normal, but you get. So that's kind of fun, play around with. I think there's another one in there like that. It's just sort of fun to jam and hear something other than just your drums. Speaking of that, there's also the sequencer that's built in with, I believe, 75 different preset little songs to sort of play along with and practice. And there's also room to record your own songs in there if you want to lay down a drum track and jam with it or use it pre-recorded for some other purpose. So I'll just give you a couple of those. Go into sequencer mode. This little surf punk is this preset, and you can turn on and off the drums and the accompaniment separately. So you probably want to turn off the drums, just play along to the accompaniment track, but I'll play one of those. And there's another one. This one's pretty cool. This is the Texas Blues. And there's some basic settings for that. You can adjust the tempo and, you know, adjust, you know, if you want it to loop over and over again, you can set the loop. You can actually go in and see the sequence and edit the notes and things like that. I haven't gotten into that yet, but that seems like that might be a little involved. I'd probably rather hook it up to a, you know, via MIDI to a computer and do all the sequencing that way rather than right inside of the unit, but it's available. What else? Let's look at the instrument setup real quick. Go to my one custom kit that I built, the Jason Rock kit. Just to show you kind of what you can do with the instruments, I'll hit the instrument button down here. Now it's telling me, do I want to edit the instrument or edit MIDI, and I want to edit the instrument. So then it shows you all each instrument. Up at the top is, you know, which one you're currently working on. I'm working on the kick. The sound I want is in the kicks category. The current name of this particular kick in the kicks category is the Y-Rec Cuss 24. And I'm believing that some of these are named after actual brands. Like I think that's a Yamaha Recording Custom 24-inch. And there's other Y things in here that seem to relate to Yamaha, and there's Z things in here that seem to relate to Zildjian, or there's, you know, K Zildjians, and yeah, it looks like they're replicating actual things without, you know, mentioning the name of the product, Zildjian, and there's some LU stuff that would be Ludwig. One I actually don't know what it is, but it's my favorite snare in the whole library, I think, is this BL65 by 14 rim shot. I was noticing that there was some kits, whenever I would play those kits, I really enjoyed the snare drum. Then I found out later they were all the same snare drum that were in those kits, so that would explain why I really was attached to that one. But it's just a very realistic sound for me. Just really enjoy that sound, so that's the snare drum that I've used. Each sound also has 2 layers. If I wanted to layer another snare on top of that one, I can do that. I just go to layer A, layer B up in the upper right there. Go to layer B and put on a different sound. Now, I don't know that there's much... I think it just pretty much triggers... you know, A and B at the same time, and there's not much you can do. Like, I don't know if you can lower the level of B in relation to A. Maybe you can if I hit the level button here. I guess that's maybe layer specific. Yeah, I guess, yeah, layer is specific. And there's effects, you know, reverb and things like that. It would be nice if there was some, like a threshold between the 2 layers. Like if I'm playing it at this volume, make my cymbal sound like a ride cymbal, but if I really whack it, then make it play layer B and turn it into a crash cymbal. You could just get a little more mileage out of your pads if there was something like that. But I don't think there is anything like that. But it looks like you can adjust the different levels between the 2, so you could have a, you know, my layer B on the snare could be the main snare that I like. If I wanted a little more, you know, wooden sound or a deeper sound, I could put a layer B snare on and then adjust the level of that layer B snare. And you can really tune it. You can actually change the pitch of things up and down and set up low-pass filters and, you know, really get into the attack and decay and the level and the pitch, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's a very detailed module. It was my first electronic kit, as I mentioned, and it's, you know, there's a lot in there. It's definitely not a beginner module, I wouldn't think, to step up from, you know, the DM... I think I was initially looking at like a DM5 or 6 or 7, so yeah, I believe this has all the sounds, you know, or the same sounds from the same library as the DM10, which is their flagship brain, I believe. So, so it's got good sounds in there. I'm sure some of the features and functionalities are limited that aren't in the 10, but you know, you got the main sounds to work with, and certainly enough customization in there for, you know, my needs for practicing and light gigging. Well, that's it for now. Wrap this up, and I'll be doing more videos, kind of going through more of the programming and the instrument stuff, and I'll see you soon.